Welcome home, Pops.
While I was away, came up with a plan that's gonna make our family the toast of Chatsworth.
A drill.
It self-sharpens as it works.
You need to call it the Bit Magician.
I like that. I'm not doing smash and grabs anymore. I'm on the righteous path.
A what? Dad can make something out of nothing.
He made the best sandwiches out of government cheese and white bread.
All that poison food is probably what made him a criminal.
Hello, Simone. Hey, David Oyelowo. How you doing?
Great to see you again.
Always great to see you guys. First, I know, David, it's been, 30 years since you first made an appearance in that musical TV Pupils, but we really got to know you over the last
Wow.
10 or so years, and the same with you, Simone, since Luke Cage. So I want to talk about this last decade where y'all have had like all these amazing projects, and how does it feel to just to realize your dreams on the screen in this decade, and be able to turn in this amazing work, especially with this. I love this project.
Well, you know what they say, every overnight success is 10 to 15 years in the making. And I actually think that's a good thing for a career in what we do. I think a slow burn is probably how a long career happens, because you're learning on the job, you're finding out what you like, what you don't like, who your audience is and aren't. And that's certainly been the case for me over the last 10 years. Selma was a big moment for me. And it's also the moment where I really was able to double down on the idea of creating the work I want to be in, creating the things I want to see in the world, but also curating the group of people I want to do that with. I don't think at any point in my career have I been more successful at that than with Government Cheese. So many of the projects I've done before, I've been the only Black producer on the project. This time there were 7 Black producers, and you see it in the work. You see that we are able to expand the aperture of what we are, quote unquote, allowed to do, the quirkiness, the fantastical nature of what we've done, the specificity of it, and the universality that is therein is really born out of a group of people who are not a monolith, but all have this aspiration to widen the aperture of what we get to do and who we are as Black people. So that's been the real joy for me.
I would say that for me, this project at the end of a decade feels like such a refreshing new beginning. I have certainly played in worlds that don't, I mean, you've got superhero worlds, you've got sci-fi worlds, and this surrealist comedy set in 1969, and a time period that I have longed to explore, and being able to do it, like David said, with producers that look like me, that have the care and concern in order to be specific, in order to pay attention to the fine details, in order to have us represented in front of the camera and behind. It's such a joy and such a gift. And there was never a fight for my voice or for the validity or the perspective of the character, because this was something that was born of Paul's heart and his family, and that was nurtured by David and by Aisha and all of the producers. It just felt like 10 years to get to the 10-year mark. You say, wow, has been an incredible decade.
And I see you brought the violin in there. I know that you have some violin skills. I don't know if you pitched that part to the producers, but I gotta ask both of you guys, this inventions and taking a leap are such a big part of this story. Have you guys ever had like one of those inventions that ended up coming into play that y'all did? Did y'all have an idea that y'all end up sleeping on and seeing somebody else do later on, or something like that you could think of?
Well, I'll say this, the amazing thing about producing and being in a show like this that is steeped in invention and aspiration. I remember saying to Simone, is there something you want to do in this show? Is this something that you haven't done elsewhere before? And then she brought up the violin.
I wish he had never asked.
And so I was like, I went to my fellow producer and said, we've got to get a violin in the show. But that's the beauty of it, right? You know, the fact that you can find these specific things that we either aspire to do or know how to do, but never get to show. You know, I wanted to have a dancing scene in the show, and I dragged Simone into that as well.
David came with so much to this show, so much heart to make it special. You could tell that he would just like, I don't know how it went, but I imagined he would just lay in bed and be like, you know what, we should have a waltz.
That's how it went.
We should have a waltz. And then he would come into the trailer and he's like, Simone, we're going to do a waltz. And I was like, huh? And we had weeks of dance lessons. And to me, that is what is born, the invention that is born from freedom, from being able to explore without any encumbrances. It feels like both he and the rest of the team were able to just dream. And you see that on screen. You see that with dancing. You see that with that violin. But that's a whole other story.
I love the violin.
I love the violin too. It was like 2 days before we shot. They were like, actually, that song that you've been rehearsing for like weeks, we're not going to do that. Here's something completely different. And I was cursing David for saying, what do you want to do if you could do anything? Not that. So, yeah.
You like it?
I love it.
Boys, you each get your own room.
It's exactly what I imagined.
And it's ours.
This is our house.
This is your house.
Your warm breath on my shoulder keeps.
But thank you guys for a great show. Shout out to the producers. Shout out to Charles King. Shout out to Howard University. Shout out to Hunter. I did my first music video with him sitting on top of the world, and
Wow.
amazing music in this. This is an amazing project. Can't wait till the world gets to see it. Y'all keep on doing great things. We'll keep on watching and cheering you on.
Thank you.
so
Great to
much.
see you.